Hey everyone, I'm THPine and welcome back to my Screeps Nooby guide. Today we're gonna improve the spawn code, and for that we're gonna use a JavaScript feature called prototyping. So as mentioned in the last video, we have a bunch of extensions, but we're not really using them. Well, there's energy stored in them, being stored in them, but we don't build bigger creeps. We could now because we have those extensions. So that's the goal. How do we do that? Well, as mentioned, we're gonna use a prototype. That's a feature of JavaScript, and basically it allows us to add a function to an object. Oh, and I just noticed our first NPC attacker came here. That's bad. Because I actually don't have any defense set up. Oh, god damn it, I was too slow. Yeah, we're not gonna... I guess we just let him kill our creeps. I mean, it's not the worst thing ever, anyway, because we need more, we're gonna need bigger creeps anyway. He destroyed our buildings, that's unfun. He's gonna die in 1,500 ticks, but I don't really have anything to kill him. Well, that was a surprise now. That completely threw me off. Do we try to defeat this creep now somehow? And we could spawn a few attackers, but I need to write code for those as well. And I actually never wrote attack code, so I'm not even sure how to do that. We could try to build a tower, but we have to fill it up. But we have to write so much code for that. I think we just let him kill all of everything. That's horrible, though. He's gonna kill all my creeps. No, look at it. God damn it! Well, yeah. I think it's still the best thing to do though. I'm just letting get a kill. I've just let it kill everything and gonna respawn stuff. I mean, the series is more about the code anyway. So let's talk about code and let him kill everything, even though that's terrible. But yeah, I cannot finish anything in time to defeat him anyway. So yeah, I guess we're gonna take that hit. So prototyping. God damn it, I feel horrible now. But prototyping allows us to add a function to an object, for example, to a spawner, or to all objects of the same type, actually. So it allows us to add a function to a type. So what we're gonna do is we'll actually switch back because we need a new module. We're gonna call that module prototype.spawn because we're gonna prototype the spawn. Which will allow us to simplify our code a little bit, or well, sort it out, separate it, stuff like that. Make it a little bit easier to read. So where is it there? Prototype spawn. So we're gonna kill all this. We're gonna change one thing directly. Instead of actually defining an object here, we're gonna define a function without any parameter here. So, okay, that's the first difference. Because we don't actually want to create an object, we just want to execute some code in this module. So in this function, we're gonna do a thing, which is we define a prototype. We do so by calling the type, which is structure spawn, and then calling the property prototype, and then we're gonna just define a new property, which we're gonna call createCustomCreep. And this function, or now we have to define a function for this. So this is going to be a function with a few parameters. The first one is going to be the energy we're going to want to use for the creep, and the second one will be the role name. That should be it. And now we open it up and we end this command with a semicolon. And now we define a function, and this function will be in a prototype of the spawn type. So and that will allow us to call this function on any spawn. I'm gonna show you that later. Let's define it first. So basically, what I want to do is I want to create balanced creeps, which means they have the same amount of work, carry, and move parts or body parts. And the work per body part costs 100 energy, and the other two cost 50. So we're gonna try to build the biggest creep, the biggest balanced creep we can with the given energy. So what we're gonna do is we divide it, like all those three body parts together cost 200 energy. So we're gonna divide the amount of energy we have by 200. Let's call the variable just n for number of parts. Well, number of parts, why not? And we're gonna do energy divided by 200 and surrounding that with the math.floor function, which will round it down. So basically, if this is 1100 and we divide it by 200, that's like 5.5, and floor will reduce it to 5. So this will make the lower full number of whatever we put in here. So, and now we're gonna, how do we do this? We probably want to build, we want to probably put a loop here. So we're gonna define a variable called body, and that's a new array. No, wait, how did you do? Did I do this earlier? Fuck, I wanted to check that. I think you define an array like this. Is that correct in JavaScript? It might be. Wait, string. What am I even talking about? That's not how you do JavaScript. How do you define an array in JavaScript? I forgot. God damn it. Okay, it turns out it's actually really easy to define an array in JavaScript. You just do this. There we go. Okay, that's an array now. Cool. Now we're gonna build a loop. And well, we're gonna use 3 loops actually, and we're gonna do let e. We start by 0. So this is a count loop. These are the traditional kind of loops where you have a counter variable, and it has a start value, which is defined in the first part of the bracket part of the loop, and then it will has a cancel condition. Or, well, not a cancel condition, actually, quite the opposite, continue the condition. So this loop will continue as long as I is lower than number of parts, and then you're gonna increase the variable at the end of the loop. So basically, at the start of the loop, this is gonna be executed. So we create a new variable with the start value. Then at the end of every, every loop step, basically, how do you call it, iteration, at the end of every iteration, the loop will check if this condition is true. If that's the case, it will go into the next iteration. If it's not true, it will cancel or end the loop and jump out of it. And after that, after it checked the condition, actually no, before it checks the condition, it increases the it calls the last statement, which usually increases the counter variable, and then it checks for the condition. There we go. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna push a body part to this function. Wait, we want to have the work parts first, because that means they get destroyed first if the creep is getting attacked. So we want to add them first. Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do this. That's it. This will add number of parts, work parts to the body. Push will just add an object to the array at the end. So well, to the end of the array. The array starts empty, so it puts it right at the start. And now we copy that twice, and we're gonna put a carry and the move part over here. There we go. Okay, now the body is ready. Now we can actually spawn the creep, and we can call the stuff, like we cannot access the spawn in here, even though we don't have a spawn defined yet. But this can be called on a spawn, remember, because of the prototyping. So this function can be called on a spawn, and we can access set spawn by typing this. And now we can use the createCreep function. And what are the arguments again? It starts with the body, then the name, and then the memory. Right. Okay, so we give body undefined for the name, and then we're gonna put the memory in here. So an object with role name, and state is false. There we go. And that should hopefully do the trick. Something is wrong. Oh, not equals. There we go. And we're going to return the return value of this. So this function actually returns the same as the createCreep function does. And that's it. Now we have to use it. Okay. Sorry. We go in here. And what we're going to do is we call require on prototype spawn. And this will return the function we just defined. Remember, all of this is a function. And now we're going to call this function by just putting brackets here. And that's it. Now we called basically this statement, or at the beginning of the, like, this line will call this function, which will call this statement, which will define a new function for the prototype of the spawn. Okay, and now we're going to use that. And we're going to go down here, and we can, just to demonstrate it, we can replace all of this with spawn1 create custom creep. You can see the autocomplete actually recognizes this, so this works. And we give it now we have to give it energy, for example, 250 or 300 or whatever. Let's say 400 for the moment. And the role is harvester. There we go, and that will work already. However, we're going to improve that a little bit more. We're gonna change out this to well, let's define a variable for it. Var energy is game spawn 1 room energy. Wait, how's it called? Energy capacity available. This will return the amount of energy all the spawners and extensions in this room can actually store. So this is gonna be what we're gonna use. Basically, the maximum of energy we can use for spawning in this room if all our extensions and spawns are full. We're gonna use that. And now we're gonna use this line for all of the others as well. Well, we'll do something similar for all of the others as well. And this will basically allow us to spawn bigger creeps, because now the create function takes this energy argument, and the bigger our energy capacity is, the higher it will be, and the bigger the creeps will be that gets spawned by the createCustomCreeps function. Creep, not creeps. The createCustomCreep function. There we go. createCustomCreep function. That's hard to say somehow. There we go. And we're gonna do the same here. That was the repairer. And we're gonna do the same here. And it's easier to read and easier to use. Just better. It's a little bit less flexible though, because we cannot define a name here. We cannot put anything else besides the role name in memory and stuff like that. It's very specific, this function, but you can adjust it or create multiple functions to adjust it to your needs, basically. createCustomCreep, energy. Do we actually want to have the builder as the default? I think we want to have the repairer as the default. That makes more sense, right? Let's do that. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna save this. And yeah, because I want the repairer as the default. Actually, not sure if that's a good idea. Is it? Let's just do it for the moment. Might not be a good idea. Actually, probably. I don't know. I'm quite unsure if it's better to have a repairer or a builder as a default. The repairer will become a builder, but also the repairer is very, like, if you have a lot of repairers, they will be very distracted, because every few ticks one of the roads will decay by 1, and then all repairers will swarm that one road. So I guess it's better to have a builder as default, because if you have too many repairers, they will be very, very useless. We want to reduce those numbers a little bit now, because we have way bigger creeps now. So probably having 4 harvesters is fine. 2 repairers, 1 builder, 1 upgrader. Yeah, something along those lines sounds good. Okay, now we're gonna jump over here. I have the feeling yeah, right, I forgot something in the last video, and I wanted to mention this. It works with the current setup, but the harvester, the new harvester code, actually is missing something important, because it's actually not checking for the type of the structure. So I just checked for all of my structures. Luckily, the only structures I have right now are extensions and spawns, and all of those have the properties energy and energy capacity. But as soon as I build a structure that is that I'm the owner of, and that doesn't have those properties, this code will actually fail, because it's trying to call this filter on it, and that's gonna break it. So what we have to add here is we have to check for the structure first, as structure type is structure spawn, or this is a logical or, as structure type. Let's put it in the next row, why not? That's not it. There we go. Or god damn it, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, let's format it in a moment. Structure type is structure extension, and we're gonna put brackets surrounding this, and then combine it with the logical AND over here. Do it like this. This looks neat, and like this. There we go. Okay, cool. So this is better because it will. Oh yeah, if you wonder, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that concept. Basically, if you have a combination of logical statements and you chain them up with ORs, logical ORs or logical ANDs, then the code will actually be executed pretty cleverly. It will not execute everything necessarily. Basically, if this first statement, like the combination of those two first statements, is false, then it will never check the second state or the other statement behind the AND, because both have to be true to return true. So if one of them is false already, if the first one is false already, the second doesn't have to be checked for. So basically, so it's important, the order here is important. It's important that we check for the structure type before we check for energy, because if the structure we find is not a spawn or an extension, then this will never be called. And if it would get called, then as mentioned, the script will fail because the building will not have an energy or an energy capacity property. So yeah, that's important to add. So that's out of the way. Now let's take a look at the game. I'm really scared. I'm really scared. Fuck, everything is dead. Oh yeah, and that's good though. That shows us something else. Where's the... Okay, I guess the creep left, the enemy creep. That shows us something else. Okay, now the spawner is not respawning anything. Why? Well, simple, because I put in here energy, which is the energy capacity available. So it will always try to spawn a creep with the max energy, basically. And since our extensions are all empty, it's not able to do that right now. So we have to actually put an extra check in here. And we're gonna do this here because harvesters are the ones we need. If name, we're gonna check if this worked, and if it doesn't work, we have to do another check. So if name is lower 0, so if it returned an error code, well, we should check for air busy. There we go. Not busy. Air not enough energy. There we go. So if the return code is not enough energy, and we combine that with the second condition, and this condition is we don't have any harvesters left. Number of harvesters is 0. So that's the current situation, for example. Then we're gonna spawn a harvester with less energy than max. We're gonna try to do the same thing, but with not with energy, but with game spawns spawn 1 room dot energy available, which is the energy we have right now. It's a little hard to read. Let's do it like this. There we go. And that's the energy we have available now. So we have like, I don't know how much is in here, 200. Those are full, not quite. I think we have exactly 300. So if we press save now, it should hopefully spawn a new creep. It doesn't. I might have screwed something up. It doesn't spawn a new creep. Okay, so I probably screwed something up. Let's check what we screwed up. Live debugging is also important for learning. What did I screw up? Okay. Let's just do some prints to the console to check where we are. Do we get here? Do we get here? Hi. Let's see. -6, and we don't reach the second part. What is -6? We can check that by calling the documentation. Well, not of this function, but the documentation of the createCreep function. There we go. And it returns, which is number -6? One of those. It doesn't show here. God damn it. Okay, we cannot check it like this. We could go to the documentation on the website. Pretty sure that's not enough energy though, actually. So I'm a little confused that it doesn't work. So maybe this check is wrong. Name is... Oh, yeah, the check is wrong, obviously. Not smaller than, but equals to error not enough energy. So if we save now, it should... It gives us an error. Great, okay. It spawned something though, so that's good. Okay, so let's get rid of those really quick. And let's check, what was this error? Creep, cannot create. Why not? Of undefined. Creep is undefined down here in this statement for some reason. Yeah, obviously it's undefined. Oh, how did I do this earlier though? Oh, I added that since the last video to make the statement more useful, but it's complete trash because we don't actually have the creep variable here. We have it, but it's something completely different than I thought. It's the last creep in this loop. So this is not what I wanted at all. What I actually wanted is game creeps name.memory.roll. That should work. Okay. And now it's spawned in harvester. And this harvester will try to fill up all the extensions. He might die before he completes that job, but he will slowly respawn and colonize my colony. So that's good. It will take a while because of that evil NPC creep, but in 2 hours or so, everything should be running again. If I didn't screw up the code, but I'm pretty confident it should work. So basically, let's take a look again. If this creep manages to fill up all the extensions before he dies, then we're gonna call this line or this function with max energy, which is we have 20 extensions. That's 1,000 energy plus 300. That's 1,300 energy, which means actually, it will do it before all of them are full, because this function will be called with 1,300 energy every time, which means he will try to spawn a creep with 1,200 energy. And as soon as we have 1,200 energy, it will spawn that creep, and that will add us a second harvester. If this harvester dies before he got this 1,200 energy, then this function or this check will be true again, because we don't have any harvesters left again, and we'll spawn another one, which will be bigger than this one, hopefully. And that one will be able, hopefully, to fill up all the extensions. And over time, this will create more creeps and gather more energy, and we should be good again, hopefully. So let's actually fill up those roads as well. They're still decaying because I couldn't gather healthy number of repair creeps going. There we go. And that should be fine. So that was a little bit of an unusual episode. This NPC creep really threw me off. But yeah, I guess I just respawn. Well, not really respawn. Respawning the game is actually, if you completely restart, I just spawn new creeps. I mean, he didn't destroy any buildings. Some of them will decay now, but yeah, it's not a big throwback, because those were all super small creeps anyway, and I wanted to spawn bigger ones, which would have been, like, I could have done that a little quicker, with all the small creeps being around and harvesting energy, but yeah, they had to die eventually anyway, so nothing of greater value was lost. So yeah, thanks all for watching, have fun, and see you next time.